Hey there, Ultra Life Today listeners. We're coming to you from the Ultra Botanica Studios right here in the heartland of Oklahoma City. And I'm Josh Bellew. I've got Adam Payne on my far left, the CEO and founder of Ultra Botanica, some innovative technologies and supplements that we have. And then sitting right to my immediate left is Keith Bishop, who's been giving us a fascinating account of his life from being a pharmacist and retiring from pharmacy to actually begin to help people with foundations of their health and even be able to change the course of their health from a condition, something they've suffered with, through diet, through exercise, through nutrition. So, Keith, you were getting ready to share something that I think everybody's antennas are going to go way up on.
And so if you're joining us, this is from last week's discussion, right?
Yeah.
So we've been talking about magnesium and calcium. You blew my mind, actually. You changed the whole paradigm for me today. I did not know that there were muscles in the lungs. Okay, or in the I know there's stuff in the
type of a muscle.
It's a type of
right.
Right, and so there's a
the alveoli and air sacs, and
so they expand and contract,
yeah.
and that our blood vessels also expand and contract, right? And I thought that I knew that there's smooth muscles in the veins and the arteries to some degree.
Matter of fact, inside the blood vessels, even there's now it's called calyx, little tiny hairs inside the blood vessels. We now know.
Oh my gosh.
And we can support
so
those
it's
to
like
grow.
Skin inside the.
Well,
it's like a vascular.
Yes, but it takes an electron microscope to see these little cilia that helps to push stuff and clean the blood vessel walls and things like that. And there's supplements that can help with that cleaning and
interesting.
Oh my gosh! So, can we talk about that a little bit later? We've been talking about something else.
Yes, right.
We're
stomach reflux.
Yeah.
Yes.
But this whole concept of magnesium, so calcium helping on the contract, and magnesium helping to relax this constant motion that we're going under here. And this started your journey,
right?
Because of your wife's asthma,
right? And migraines. So
magnesium
helps with migraines,
and also helps to relax the contractions that are necessary for life. So fascinating. And so where we got to last week was we were talking about acid reflux and how a lack of stomach acid could contribute to these symptoms that people have. And it's actually quite rampant. And I am so upset with the GI docs that got into these proton pump inhibitors as a way to treat gastrointestinal distress. It's so wrong. But you learned, so we come to this journey, and you were going to give us a prescription for maybe helping to relieve some of these issues.
So, I can't say prescription because I'm not a
doctor, but maybe what do you want to call it?
So yes, so back in the pharmacy days in Mustang, we had a doctor in El Reno that actually prescribed stomach acid pills, not acid blockers, not proton pump inhibitors, not the Zantac, not the Tagamet. This is before those were available. And reflux has been going on forever.
Right.
Okay. And so he prescribed, actually a product is by Eli Lilly called Acidulin. And it was betaine hydrochloric acid.
Wow. Yeah.
And so he had prescribed those capsules. And matter of fact, for an emergency, we actually kept in the pharmacy a little tiny, kind of like a little milk carton of Coca-Cola syrup. And so he would prescribe the Coca-Cola syrup if a person had reflux. So they had reflux, is burning here. They drink that, Coca-Cola syrup, strong, and literally that phosphoric acid, not necessarily the best, definitely not the best acid.
It'll strip minerals and stuff out of you if you're drinking it on a daily basis. Yeah.
But it would dissolve the food and help this upper part of the stomach, as we now know. We didn't know at the time, but it helped this sphincter, this muscle, to close and digest the food, turn to a liquid, and empty out. No more bloating, no more reflux, and things like that. So then when I came across this book that I mentioned, Why Stomach Acid is Good for You by
Jonathan
Dr. Wright.
Yes, okay.
And so now we add on stomach acid. So if myself, my wife, my clients, if they're having acid reflux problems, we will have them, take actually, if they're having reflux, they'll take 2 or 3 or 4 capsules, with their meals at the beginning of their meals to help digest the food, to keep it from happening. But let's say they didn't have that, or they started having reflux at night, get up and take 3 capsules of betaine HCl, and sometimes also pepsin, another ingredient too that helps with this. And take that, maybe a tiny snack, just kind of make sure that it swallows, that it goes down.
Right, you don't want it stuck up in the
esophagus. Don't want it stuck, yeah, that's right. And so the esophagus is not made for acid. And literally, so this happened to me at night, and so I'll take those 3 capsules and go sit in the recliner, not lay down, but just kind of recline back a little bit, and lights are off, and just kind of just pay attention. And literally, I can feel that actually just it quits burning. It's not here. It's going down, and I can feel the food and the contents of my stomach just emptying out and leaving the stomach.
Oh wow!
And it's like, I can feel that valve working. Kind of it's kind of mechanical in a way, but I mean,
this one closed. This stuff moves around, and this opens
up, and because the food's in the right format. So this lady I was talking about, she had gastroparesis. The food wasn't in the right format. And that's why I was reading the medical journals. That's why we went ahead and gave her betaine hydrochloric acid, because that's the most common cause of gastroparesis in the medical journals. But the doctors weren't reading the journnals. And
they were living by the symptoms.
Symptoms of what they learned 20 years ago. Okay. And so
frustrating.
It is. But I'm not trying to really make an excuse, but it's like, doctors are like the rest of us. They only have so much time in a day and or interest. Like you mentioned, a loved one themselves,
and you go on automatic, don't you?
Exactly. They go on automatic, and they're really, doctors are no different than us. They obtain an education. They're good at what they do, and it's just the same thing over and over and over again.
Right.
And so there's a few that are willing to step out and go into, and it's actually such a rapidly expanding number of practitioners in Oklahoma now.
It is.
So another little story. Matter of fact, once, many years ago, after I'd opened up Health Nut RX, I had a patient that was suspected she had cancer, and so I think that's what it was. But anyway, for some reason, I asked her internist to do a vitamin D3 blood test to get it covered on insurance, because at that time the vitamin D3 blood test was probably $150.
Okay.
And now it's like $39 if you pay cash for it.
Right.
And so it's expensive. I said, go ahead and get covered by your insurance because you've got a lot of health issues going on. Well, and this was an internist, and he's kind of like the doctor's doctor. If you have a problem, the doctors would see him and pay him cash to figure out what's going on. Well, he said, I've heard of him before. He's a witch doctor.
Oh, wow.
I'm not going to do that.
Oh, how fun. What a great title.
And I'm not going to do, I'm not going to do that test. And so we went ahead and she paid cash. She did the test. And, as a matter of fact, in the state of Oklahoma, you don't have to have a doctor's order to get a blood test.
Oh, that's interesting.
Nice.
So just FYI, so you can do that, and you can get blood tests without a doctor's order. So we did the test, and sure enough, she was like extremely low. Well, now that internist actually tests every single patient.
Okay, so I got to stop you for a second, Keith, because there's been this shifting landscape as it relates to vitamin D levels. So you said she was low.
Right.
Tell me what that means to you in terms of a number, and where you, as a health practitioner, like to see that number go to, and how do people get there?
Right, and so and you have to do a blood test. We don't know without doing a blood test. You can't guess. So I like mid-range. 60, 65. So the normal range goes from, 30 to 100.
Okay.
And so I like at 60, 65 is kind of like I think a good number. And I don't remember what her number was. That was many years ago. But it's enough to where, she needed to take 5,000 units a day. So she was probably like a 25 or something, but definitely low enough. And the doctor could see, it was low. And so he couldn't tell her not to take it. And so that was a little bit of his education. And now it's more acceptable, to do that. There is some controversy. You can definitely get too much. It's a sunshine vitamin. And there's a few people that they may not even be outside, but for some reason their vitamin D level is okay. It's not common.
Interesting.
And so
it's maybe some genomic or genetic variant.
Yeah, there can be. Matter of fact, actually, and so we also do genetic testing, and actually, my vitamin D receptor doesn't work.
Oh, that's interesting. We've heard of other people that have had the same issue. So what did you learn to get that to work?
It doesn't work very well. And so vitamin A may help out
Right,
some.
and K2?
And well, K2 works in a different way, so I have to overcompensate.
Interesting.
Now, and so like even my immune cells has a vitamin D receptor.
It needs cofactors in order to
Right,
open
it needs cofactors like vitamin A to work, but even with that, there's actually more than one vitamin D receptor too. But my VDR receptor, vitamin D receptor, doesn't work, and so now vitamin D can't attach. So now my immune system doesn't work right.
Right.
And so we're seeing that with virus infections, that could be part of the issue why some people.
So
get
how do you
sick and some
discover
people
this? I mean, so we interviewed a gal named Dr. Jay Dunn, and she has a test called My Happy Genes, and she's looking at all these SNPs that elucidate these defects in maybe not just in the receptors, in the we call them ligands, right?
Right.
Yeah. So how do you test this for this?
It's just a simple mouth swab. Mouth swab, send it off to the lab, and then a couple of weeks you get the results back, and it's pretty.
So you specifically test for these D vitamin receptors?
Oh yeah, it's actually the panels now are like unbelievable. It's like $300 now.
Oh wow!
And you get so much. I paid $1,500 for 20 things, and now you get more than 100 for $300.
Wow!
Because the machines now that they're being mass produced almost, and matter of fact, genetic costs have even dropped the past. Just actually, I heard last night, $100 less expensive. So
wow
on things. So
Keith, we've got a couple of minutes before break, but as a rule of thumb, when somebody starts on this journey, they realize they're low in vitamin D. Is there a rule of thumb that most people either that goes up really quickly or it takes a period of time? What's normal for you to do?
Yes,
in telling somebody to come back and retest to know that they're right.
So, and I'm not body shaming, okay, but if the more body fat a person has, the longer it takes for the vitamin D level to go up.
Oh,
vitamin D is not a vitamin. It's actually a hormone.
Right.
Our body makes that chemical, sunshine exposure. Matter of fact, it comes from cholesterol. So if we're low in vitamin D, we're low in hormones, our cholesterol is going to go up. Okay. And so, but if you have a lot of body fat, you have to take a higher dose for a longer period of time. It may be 6 months before you reach a steady state on a blood test. Okay. Now, if you're a thin person, like some people, and literally within a month or two,
they can actually see a change.
My sister recently, my dearly departed sister, she was given a very high dose of vitamin D when they discovered how low her vitamin D level was, and she was dealing with a very aggressive cancer. And she's very slender, like me, just kind of runs in the family. It astonished me how quickly she went from like a 15 up to about a 70.
Wow.
And it was literally within 4 weeks.
Exactly.
It was crazy.
On that. And then, but now there's still other issues. So vitamin D is used when it attaches to the receptor, or it takes the calcium and magnesium and absorbs it and takes it to the bones, and autoimmune issues, or you have calcium plaque inside the blood vessels, the vitamin D attaches to that, it's used up.
Oh, interesting.
So
even though you can measure the level, it's maybe depleted.
Oh yeah. Well, the level is actually the free.
I got
It's not what's attached to the cells. And so if you have autoimmune issues or a significant plaque calcium buildup, it might take a longer time to get a steady state. So my wife also has some autoimmune issues, and as I do. And so it took actually several years, and then now actually we have to decrease our dose. And so enough things are better in her body, and we had to decrease it from 10,000 a day to more like 7,000 a day.
Okay, well, this is Ultra Life Today. I'm Josh Bellew. I've got Adam Payne down on the end, and I've got Keith Bishop sandwiched between us because we want to bring you guys back and listen to some more of Keith Bishop here. It's a fascinating conversation. Ultra Life Today.
Our mission is to take nature's most beloved botanicals and enhance them with our liquid protein scaffold technology. This helps it reach your cells faster and better. With exponentially enhanced bioavailability, you'll feel better every day. Ultra Botanica, the feel-good curcumin.
Welcome back to Ultra Life Today. I'm Josh Bellew. I've got Adam Payne, the CEO and founder of Ultra Botanica. We're right here in the Ultra Botanica studios in the heart of Oklahoma, in Oklahoma City. And we've got our dear friend Keith Bishop here that has been schooling us about simple things like magnesium and vitamin D3. And Keith is a retired pharmacist that took a departure from pharmacy specifically to help individuals solve their health challenges, to understand why they were having health challenges, and then how they can actually plot a course to be able to move out of that and back to optimum, vibrant health. And Keith, gosh, it's been so much fun. And I mentioned when we hit the break, I said, oh, you got right up to something on vitamin D that I wanted to know, because now we hear things like K2 and MK7 out there right now. And so I asked Keith on the break, do you ever just only tell people to take vitamin D3? What was your response to that, Keith?
Well, I don't anymore. And so, and D3 is important, but there's some medical studies suggesting that a high dose of D3 may actually help you absorb your nutrients. So actually stomach acid, critical. To break the mineral apart, vitamin D attaches to the mineral, takes it into the body.
Wow.
Across the gut lining. And so, but if that's calcium, if you're also taking calcium pills, then now your calcium level is going to be a little bit high. If you have the plaque inside the blood vessels, the calcium can get stuck in that plaque.
Not good, right?
Now,
Good.
but MK7,
MK7, vitamin K2, MK7 specifically works. It's a longer acting. They call it a half-life, but it stays in the body a long time.
Okay.
And the vitamin K2 attaches to your minerals too, but especially if it's in the plaque. We think of it now, pulls that calcium off the plaque, moves it into the bone, and stimulates bone growth.
Beautiful.
Interesting.
Yeah. Matter of fact, this in my mind, the scientific stuff is just like, actually, it's the exact same process. Pulling off the blood vessel wall is a particular process, physiological process. And then putting it in the bone is the exact opposite physiological process. So when you look at all the acronyms and everything, it's exactly the same thing, just an opposite process.
So an individual that might be concerned, maybe they've got a history in their family of heart issues, maybe atherosclerosis, something like that. You're telling us that something as simple as this K2 form of vitamin D or MK7, which is really popular, wildly popular right now, it's actually a way to remove plaque, and yet then it's going and depositing this calcium that's actually helping to build bones, which if a person is concerned about osteoporosis or something, that's exactly what you want to have happen,
exactly,
right?
Yes.
That's incredible.
And so we typically don't get enough vitamin K1 in our diet, and it has similar type activity, but not as strong. K2 is different. It is in certain foods. Actually, in Oklahoma, we don't eat the fermented Oriental foods, and so we're not going to get it.
Yeah, we want chicken, fried steak,
easier.
And gravy and mashed potatoes.
So
green beans with
fermented
pork in
foods
them.
is a vector for the K7.
The what now?
The MK7 is the fermented foods?
It actually, vitamin K2.
K2, okay.
Comes from fermented foods. Vitamin
Gotcha.
K1 comes from leafy greens.
Right.
And which we have to have. It's actually necessary for clotting processes.
Right.
So we have to have the leafy greens. And it has some activity, but the K2 seems to work better at pulling that plaque off and stimulating bone growth. Vitamin K2 is going to become more like vitamin D3, meaning everybody is going to be taking K2 soon. And matter of fact, we're going a lot higher doses. Kind of like, when I was in college, what little we had on vitamin D3, 400 units. If you get any more than that, you're going to die.
Oh, I remember that.
and so, because 400 is the recommended daily allowance. Well, that RDA was developed in the 1930s during World War II. What is it necessary to keep an 18-year-old healthy that's going to war? So they could supplement those soldiers and keep them from getting sick, like scurvy and beriberi, all that kind of stuff.
Sorry.
And so, but we've learned so much more. So actually, the average adult, is going to need 5,000 units of D3.
Wow.
Okay.
Agreed.
And some people more, and a few less.
Right.
Definitely, there's a few that don't have to take it. And so K2 is going to be the same thing. Recommended daily allowance is 90 micrograms a day. And actually, I'm going with 180 to 500 micrograms a day of K2.
Wow.
And it also anti-inflammatory, it helps the immune system, and atherosclerosis plaque, type
Right,
issues.
yeah, because there's that whole interaction between inflammation and the development of the plaque. If you don't have the subclinical inflammation in your circulation, then you don't develop plaque.
That's right, yeah. And so long as those little hairs are growing right inside the blood vessels.
Interesting. So we've gone on a little bit of a journey, and we came up to the point when you were out of, we were talking about your HealthNet RX. And how did you get from HealthNet RX to where you're at today, Keith?
Well, just we had a sales rep that, first of all, Jared Roberts, the owner of Flourish Pharmacy, I admired what he did with that compounding pharmacy. So he came in and opened up a new business and was very successful, Christian, and I admired what he was doing. And, I'd been doing HealthNet RX for, 12 years or something like that. And just the business aspect of it, I just didn't want to.
You didn't enjoy that.
Jared's a master at that, right?
Yeah. And so Jared, he's a master of a lot of stuff. And so I admire the man. And so we met and agreed to actually, merge the business. And so I've now been with him for 12 years. Yep. And so he's in the business is doing fantastic. So compounding pharmacy, he was trying to do some nutrition things, he and his wife, but you can only do so much, and his, yes, he loves it, but he didn't have the knowledge. His expertise was compounding pharmacy and business management. And
so all the nutritional stuff was really novel to him, and that's what you brought to the table.
Right. And so so I took over the nutrition, area, and then we grew. I mean, it was a crazy time, like y'all are growing. It's amazing. We were just talking about that a moment ago too. And so we were able to build a building that is,
phenomenal.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, I've just got to say, if you're an Oklahoma City person, or if you're just coming through town, or you come from somewhere outside the state to see this beautiful Renaissance in downtown Oklahoma City, you got to go check out Flourish Pharmacy sometime. I've actually taken some people up there before and said, "Hey, can I tour them real quick through there?" It is a beautiful facility that has these state-of-the-art clean rooms. They do all kinds of things in compounding for pets, for humans, for
pets and humans,
you name it. Yeah, it's incredible. And it's just, and it's literally like walking into a health food store, because if you like health food stores like I do, like our good friend Kyle Drew does, you walk in and you just go, these guys have some killer products, and there's like thousands of them. They've got so many awesome nutritional supplements. So it's a great place to go.
So let's go to a quick break. And after we come back, I'd like to kind of loop back to curcumin, of all things, because you have an opinion.
Yes.
And you've had experience prior to Ultra Botanica's technology. And if you don't mind, I think I'd like to close the loop on that subject.
Yeah, and we've actually got a few minutes
we
left
do.
in this
Okay,
right now. So I want to do an interesting setup, too, because I'm so excited that we're going to move.
We're not going to do the breakdown
to
yet.
this.
Yeah, okay,
not quite yet. Yeah, we've got about 2 or 3 minutes. So what a lot of you don't know about Keith Bishop is he has developed a specialty in his knowledge base. He knows so much about so many things, and it's going to be fun, Keith, when we go into our next segment to ask you about this, but I don't want people to go away before they know, because I want you to make sure you tune back in for some upcoming segments we're going to do with Keith. Keith, are you having memory issues? Are you concerned in your family that there may be some things that might potentiate dementia or Alzheimer's or something like that? Every one of us these days, I think, Adam and Keith, obviously you, but we know somebody that's affected by this stuff, right?
Oh, it's rampant.
Well, you interviewed Keith before on this, on one of our other broadcasts, and he has got a wealth of information that I think can take the fear out of moving towards some kind of horrible situation like Alzheimer's or dementia. He's actually got a way to deal with that.
Well, and it's beyond that, right? Because if you get a diagnosis of vascular dementia or Alzheimer's or all of these different diseases that you can get a diagnosis of with a prognosis, there aren't that many things that doctors can do.
Exactly right.
Right. And so it really opens up a whole spectrum of things that you as a nutritionist can offer that are not in the traditional pharmaceutical space. So I guess we will go to break.
We will, yes.
And then we'll come back and talk about these things.
Yeah, this is Ultra Life Today. I'm Josh Bellew. Adam Payne's on my far left. Keith Bishop right here in the middle. We're not letting him go anywhere until we learn a little bit more about curcumin, which is our wheelhouse here at Ultra Botanica. All that inflammatory cascade that Adam knows so well, and what Keith thinks about curcumin and getting it into the body. And then also we'll take a departure in some other segments into one of Keith's specialties, and that's Alzheimer's and dementia. Okay.
We'll be right back.